There's just something about
Zelda!
So this is Zelda. We aren't talking about Sheik today, we're talking about her low-tier counterpart that is hardly used in competitive play, the one and only Zelda. Initially, in the very first tier list made for Super Smash Bros. Melee, Zelda was actually ranked in the number 6 spot on the tier list, which would be her highest placement during the entire lifespan of the game. She was ranked that high due to being in the early days of the meta and the fact that her down B allowed her to transform into a literal top tier character. However, if you separate her from Sheik and just look at her as her own character, she really isn't that good competitively. The design philosophy behind Zelda and Sheik was for one character to be better at racking up damage, but be a faster and weaker character. The other character being slower and having stronger attacks. However, ironically, the character that was made to be weak is actually a really strong character on her own, and the character that is really slow is the one that's lackluster in the meta. The idea was to switch between the two during combat, however the process of doing this is so slow it's not even worth switching characters at all. Which is why Sheik is seen as a top level threat in the meta, and Zelda is currently being the 3rd worst character in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Yikes. Now notice, things about a lot of low tiers that they all have in common is they lack speed, which transitions into the first reason on why Zelda is a bad character. Reason 1. Zelda is just overall a very slow character. She has the slowest initial dash speed in the game. That means when you input a dash, literally any character in the cast is going to be doing it better than her. Now you can be a slow character in Melee and potentially perform well. Look at Jigglypuff or Peach for example. However, Zelda doesn't have a lot of benefits to offset the fact that she is a slow character in general, especially compared to the rest of the cast. Strangely enough, Zelda doesn't fall under a specific character archetype. As much as she feels as a mishmash of multiple other attributes from other characters, a lot of people don't understand what Zelda is really trying to be. One of her few positives, for example, being her forward air and back air, which are pretty much like Falcon knees in the sense of how they're really strong KO moves. But despite being a slow character, she has one of the fastest down smashes in the game, which can actually be helpful to force opponents away from her. And her throws are actually pretty average, having an up throw that can specifically chain grab fast fallers like Fox. She has a back throw that can possibly be used as a KO throw at higher percentages, and her tilt attacks and dash attack have a lot of promise to them and could be decent moves for setting up combos. If only they were tinkered up to be a little bit better, then maybe she would have been a higher tier character. The character is just slow. Slow dash speed, one of the worst dash dances in the game, an overall really slow wave dash as well. Just all around, just not a very good character at all. The next point, being her weight. Now, if you know anything about the video that I made on Kirby, Kirby has terrible weight in Melee, and it can be really annoying when you don't weigh a lot, thus you're going to be KO'd a lot quicker. Because the lower the weight, the quicker the character can be KO'd, and it's okay to have poor weight in Melee, you just need something in your character archetype to offset that weakness. Zelda doesn't really have that outside of a couple strong moves that aren't really that fast. Having a pretty average weight is going to mean that characters like Fox, up throw up air is going to kill really early on Zelda, and she has a really big character model as well, so it's going to be really hard for her to avoid that stuff. Reason 3 being her special moves. Outside of her down B, which makes her into an entirely better character, her special moves are just slow and weak. They are overall situational special moves. Her neutral special, Nehru's Love, is not only not good, it's just very short range and doesn't really do that much damage or knockback. Although you can use this move to reflect projectiles for like the Samus matchup for example, it's not really that good. Her side special is very slow and laggy, but if you hit your opponent it can be a decent move off stage, but it's very risky to be used in neutral because it can be beaten by simply just shielding the attack. Also, if you use this move off stage with Zelda for some reason, you actually go into free fall, which is really bad. Yeah. Zelda's recovery move, her up special, is also really bad. This move isn't very powerful when you hit with it, and it's also very laggy and slow. I find a lot of times that Zelda will just clip the stage when she's trying to recover with this move. It means this move in general is just easy to punish, which really isn't that good when you're just a bad character in general, so having a bad recovery doesn't really help. Sometimes it's actually better to simply air dodge to get back on stage, which, yeah, that's how bad her up special is, and that's how risky it can be, where actually air dodging to get back on stage is sometimes less risky. But let's talk about her one and only down special. where with the click of the move, she becomes a top tier character in the meta. All jokes aside though, this move is programmed incorrectly for what it's supposed to be. Sakurai designed Zelda to be a character where you could switch between Zelda and Sheik in order to fit the situation how you see fit. But the overall transformation between Zelda and Sheik takes way too long, and it's actually more of a dangerous move than it actually is helpful. Some Sheik mains will switch to Zelda when off stage sometimes in order to use Zelda's up special because it reaches further overall.
And this is an edge guard Armada's done so many times.
Sniped.
Bump actually has to up
You know Armada had like a plan for that, like to...
Oh, yeah. Oh!
He's dead! Oh my
He
God!
lightning kicks him!
However, that's really it. You don't really want to switch between Zelda and Sheik because she's just really bad. Zelda is really, really bad. You'll see some niche scenarios where maybe they'll pull out a move with Zelda like her fair and KO the opponent just as a mix-up, but those are rare occurrences. Sheik's moveset just overall way better and gets the job done better. She's better at racking up damage, she's faster and stronger overall. The transformation between Zelda and Sheik actually takes 69 frames to transform into the character vice versa, making the move more dangerous overall. Now this is ironic because Sakurai certainly learned his lesson in Smash Ultimate, giving Pyra and Mithra a modern day interpretation of the transform ability, and their transform being literally 32 frames in length. Zelda's transformation is twice the speed of Pyra and Mithra's, meaning it's just way too slow. Most people are just going to play Sheik anyways. Zelda versus Peach. Now this is the part where I make a comparison of a low tier in Melee and compare them to a high tier in Melee. I feel like Peach is a good comparison to make here, and no, it's not because they're both female characters. And there's actually a lot of truth to this where the characters actually literally share multiple of the same animations. Melee was developed during a crunch period, baby. They both come off as very slow characters, having poor wave dashes and initial dash speed, and both being floatier characters. But Peach is not only stronger, having an amazing down smash, great combo game, a float to aid into her recovery, turnips, a projectile, and just overall being a way more solid character. It's pretty ironic how people thought Peach was a bad character initially during the early days of the meta. People actually thought Zelda was better than Peach back in 2002, for some reason. But as the meta has changed over the years, it's pretty obvious that Peach is a way better character and Zelda is just bad. To shut the book on Zelda, she is overall not a very good character, being a very slow character without a lot of positives to offset her weaknesses as a character, and while a couple decent moves on paper like some of her aerials are nice, but the overall flaws of the character are just way too high. So now we're talking about Zelda in Project M. Now if you're a Zelda main in Project M, well, congratulations, the character is actually very solid in Project M. The meta in Project M is much closer compared to how it is in Melee, meaning almost any character could be played in tournament, unlike in Melee where if you use low tiers, they're just not good at all. One of the things that I personally like that they did with Zelda and PM is they solidified her character archetype. While in Melee it's very hard to tell what she's exactly trying to be, she has a handful of decent moves in her kit, yet has a lot of bad things about her that just really make her feel very lopsided. In Project M, she almost doesn't even play like the same character. They feel night and day different from each other. And funnily enough, she was a horrible character in Brawl too, so in Project M you can finally play a competitively viable version of Zelda. She is overall a lot faster, in tune with the rest of the cast in Project M. Her mobility has been improved, and many of her attacks are faster. Many of her moves have improved KO abilities. The overall changes in Project M's engine have greatly benefited the character, like her combo potential, her overall endurance, is also her ability to transform into Sheik is much faster than it was in Melee. Zelda dashes faster, for example. Her traction is a little bit higher than it was previously in Melee. Also, her weight and speed and gravity have been reverted to their Melee versions, which is a little bit better than the Brawl version. Her jab has an improved hitboxes, which allows more connectability and you can combo with moves a lot easier. Her forward tilt now hits behind Zelda, which makes it a lot better of a move. Her tilts in general are just way better. Her up tilt is really good at racking up damage. Down tilt is really good as well. They're really good just poking tools in her moveset. Her tilts just overall are really strong. Her dash attack deals more damage and is better at setting up combos. Her neutral air and her aerials in general are really strong. Her throws as well are very strong too. Her back throw has increased knockback scaling. Her down throw has more damage that it can deal. Her grabs are just faster as well. Nehru's Love is now cancelable after the attack frame ends, so that means the move just isn't archetype nearly as bad as it was like in Melee, for example, where it's really unsafe. Now in Project M, Nehru's Love is a lot more safer. Din's Fire was actually changed entirely in Project M. Now the move actually takes inspiration from Soul Calibur, from Viola. One of her magical orb attacks is very similar and was the inspiration used for Zelda's new side B. So basically she can use the side B and then it stays in the air within a couple seconds and then you can kind of make it explode or come back to Zelda. It's just way better than what it was previously and it just adds a lot more depth to the character. It's sort of like a mine hitbox. In earlier versions of Project M, Din's Fire was actually way more broken. She could use 3 Din's Fires at once and it was kind of crazy. But they significantly changed this a lot throughout development. The final version in Project Plus, though, was really nice. Zelda's recovery is also improved. Up Special is just a way better tool in general. Also, she's just straight up just a better character. I could go down the entire list of just how Zelda is just way better in this game. One of the more ironic buffs is, yes, the Zelda and Sheik transformation is actually faster in Project M because in Project M, they load the files through SD cards than the CD like they do in Brawl. So that's one of the weird buffs of literally using Project M through an SD card is it makes the Zelda and Sheik transformation a little bit faster. So even though Zelda is a bad character competitively in almost every Smash game, the character in general is more fleshed out and has a solid direction and character archetype, and she's a really solid character in the meta, so if you're interested in playing Zelda, definitely I recommend playing her in Project M. Alright you guys, that is the video. Shoutouts to my patrons for supporting the channel. Also, if you guys are interested in getting more content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good one. Peace out and take care.
I pick the top tier, just pick a top tier. You want to win, yo? Pick a fucking top tier.
I don't even like Bar.